I just watched episode 2 of Destination X. I'm Rick. Yep, you saw me there. I was the one without an alliance. I was the one who was begging for friends. Like, I remember what it was like living through that. It was hard. Like, Josh, at the end of episode 1, he just, like, threw me under the bus. That was a total surprise when he did that. And you're going to see, I live with that for a bit. Episode 2 was really hard for me. I don't want to cry. But watching it, I knew it was going to bring back a lot of hard memories. And it did. You can see it when the episode starts. It was Mac and Ty and Allie are sitting with me in the front. And we're talking about the shocking twist of Josh pointing his finger at me on his way out. And I felt super vulnerable then. Because I thought I had been doing a good job making rapport, building rapport with people. But I guess it came across as disingenuous. And Josh saw that, called it out, and then left. So now I'm trying to pick up the pieces. And you can see that I say I'm shook. I don't like that feeling. And the feeling was I was trying to reach out to Josh. He asked me, and so did Ty. Ty asked me on their way to the map room, where are we? And I said, I think we're in Milan. And that jives with what you saw our team when we were putting the clues together. We were thinking Milan. It was Mac who says, I know we're not in Milan, but I'm not helping the team. So maybe, she should have the snake moniker on her, not me. I was just trying to help out. But man, that took everybody and said, don't trust Rick when Josh said that. So man, target was firmly on my back. So I thought, I have got nothing to lose by asking for an alliance. I wanted to put it out there. Hey, I'm a free agent. I'm here. If you think you'd like to work with me, if you think I've got skills, if you think I'm pretty smart, I'm athletic-ish, if you want to work with Rick, I'm free. And you could see the reactions from Ty, right? And from Allie. They just kind of rolled their eyes and they're like, nope, no interest. And then the confessionals confirmed it. They have no interest in working with me. That was one thing I was, eager to see or scared to see was the confessionals. Because that's the part of the game I haven't seen yet. I know what I said in the confessionals. I just don't know what everybody else said. So hearing those in episode 2 just confirms that I really was playing a solo game in episode 2. Yeah. Looking for alliances. Maybe that's a newbie move by announcing to the whole bus that, hey, I'm open for a partnership. But I just felt like I had to make some sort of move. And the one-on-ones just weren't happening. With the bus is so small, how do you have one-on-ones without other people being suspicious? Hey, what are they talking about up there? So I just thought, you know what? Let me just say it in front of everybody. What a tough day. And it's always tough on the day that somebody leaves. So you'll see, because you've seen the episode now, you know that I make it to episode 3. So I lived through Jonah leaving and Josh leaving. And it's always a shock because the bus, the energy's different, the dynamic's different. And we're going through our head, where did they place their ex? Why are they leaving and not me? So when Josh left, he didn't tell us that he put Milan on the bus. He whispered and he said, Rick, you're a snake. And so everyone was wondering, what did I tell Josh? So the next day I confessed that I told him Milan, because that was the answer to their question. Hey, what did you tell him? What did you tell him to make him think that you're a snake? And so I said, no, it was Milan what I said. Right? So I did that because I wanted them to, I didn't want them to think that I was being overly malicious. No, I told them what our team thought. Milan. Now let's get to the Swiss. Like, watching the episode 2, like, when they showed the map of the bus leaving Rome and going straight into Switzerland on that graphic, I'm like, why are you doing that, NBC? Let there be a little bit of mystery. I loved watching the Belgian version of this show when the viewers at home were kept in the dark, just like us on the bus. We were not told anything, not shown anything. Let it be a surprise when we get to the mountain. Let the viewers at home experience what the players felt like. I felt like there was a miss there when they immediately said, now we're driving north into Switzerland. Yeah, a little disappointing there, but that's the way it is. So, no, we had no idea that we were in Switzerland, except that those of us who could follow the sun knew we had driven north from Rome, and then actually we had driven west. So north and west. So I had us clocked going into France, but we drove for a long time. So you can get you could get to the south of France. I had us pegged possibly being as far as Nice. There's no way we had gotten as far as Spain or Andorra. There's no way we had gone that far. So the other option is somewhere internal France or possibly up and around into Switzerland. So that ended up being the right thing. You know, it is funny. Some people couldn't track the sun. That was one surprise I had. You teach us that, and I don't know, as early as you can be in kindergarten. Right? The sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and on the bus you can see the sun through the opaque windows. On cloudy days, you can't see the sun, but you can see the resemblance of the sun or a shadow. Or you can put your hand on the glass, and one side is warmer than the other. So you can't be too obvious about it. So you have to move around the bus a lot. So you'll see, and you put your arms up on the window, and what you're doing is you're just feeling for the sun. And then maybe you switch seats, and you go to the other side of the bus and feel for the sun on the windows on a cloudy day. And also, the buses make a lot of noise, so when they're doing their air brakes and slowing down and making a turn, constantly logging the mileage of the bus, how long we've been driving, when we turned last, all those things. I was doing that even on the airplane. I remember as soon as the goggles went off on the airplane, in the seat back pocket in front of me was the brochure, right? And all the airplanes in the fleet. And I knew it was an ARJ. I had looked, usually on the window screen pulls down is the model of the plane. So I clocked the model of the plane, looked at the brochure. It goes 600 miles an hour. We've been going for 45 minutes. So I was clocking how far we had left. Josh said it on his exit interview. We had left Antwerp. That was where the plane started. So I had clocked that we had gone 600 or 450 miles south. So I was building that map in my head. So fast forward to Rome. I think we didn't know we were leaving Rome. Some of us thought we were leaving Milan, so we have a different starting point at each leg of the race. But that's the trick, is to try to figure out where we are, where did everyone else place their X, who got kicked off the bus, and where did they place theirs. So if Josh really did Milan, because he was also threatening to do Pompeii, so we don't really know where Josh was. He also had let out a rumor that maybe his time ran out and maybe didn't get a place in X, so he was automatically disqualified. So many rumors on that bus when he left. So where was the starting point for leg 2? It differed depending on who you were. So I quickly realized Milan was wrong. It was Rome. So I was clocking us leaving Rome and heading north. Watching the show and hearing Josh say, well, we're heading south now, but that doesn't mean anything for me. I was like, oh man, he was literally lost. If on a map we're going away from Rome, if you don't know which direction we are going and what country's next, it's going to be a hard game for you. So the options for me was France, Switzerland. There's no way we were going east, so it couldn't have been Croatia or Slovenia or anything on that side of the country or continent. Right, and now we get to the Swiss Challenge. It was a hot day, and we were in, normal clothes, and The producers come on the bus and say it's time for a challenge. We get the message from Jeffrey. And what I love is the messages from Jeffrey on the bus are nothing like what you get on the television. Like, he's giving clues, he's giving locations. Hey, we're 120 kilometers from destination. No, we don't get any of those. Like, it was just, here's the challenge, here's how to play, let's go. So we knew something was up when we had to get in snow pants and snow boots, vests and hats and gloves. But we just didn't know what type of challenge it was going to be. None of that was revealed until we were at the top of the mountain. In fact, we thought, because we hadn't gone way high, you can tell when you're driving up a mountain, right? Your ears pop. We thought we were going sledding or maybe a toboggan race. We had no clue because we hadn't logged that we were going to be 10,000 feet up. That was all on a train and a gondola. It took a long time to get from the bus to the top of the mountain, as you can imagine. And the whole time was wearing the goggles, earplugs, right? Little wax bits inside your earplugs. So it was like double ear protection, double goggle protection. We had like a sleep mask under our goggles for comfort, which was so hard because if you got the wrong person's sleep mask from the previous challenge, you'd have all their makeup on your face. So I was trying to keep one that was, Rick's mask that was clean, no makeup. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So when we got to the top of the mountain, it was, a couple hours from the bus and exhausting. And nowhere to pee, nowhere to eat. Like, they brought food onto the bus right before we got dressed, but they said we're getting ready for the next challenge right away, so your nerves, your butterflies in your stomach, you just don't want to eat. So, like, empty stomach, gotta pee, hours on the tram, no idea where we're at. So when we take the goggles off, like, the snow blinding effect of being way up high with the bright sun, having been in complete darkness for hours, was mesmerizing. It took us a while to get our bearings and realize, wow, we are really high, really, really high. And that observatory, the Sphinx Observatory that we know now, it was in the distance. We could see it up high, but we couldn't see a flag. We couldn't see any details. We saw some tourists walking by, but that was no clue. Nobody was near enough that we could hear anybody talking, any language. They had cleared out the game board area for us right there in the top of the mountain. I wish NBC would have described how to play the game for you guys at home, because it came across as very confusing when I watched it, because there's people on sleds, there's clues. There's a time when you see us looking at a map, but they didn't describe that the map had the clues on it for which box to dig up, right? Based on, you saw Frankenstein or Timothy Chalamet. So we had a map pointing which pile that clue referred to. So when we're running up to the pile, we don't just start digging at a random pile. We dig at the one that is correlated to on the map with the country we think we're in. Here's the problem. We left our map, the purple team, we left it at the fire building station. So when we got to the first place to dig, we're like, Allie, where's the map? Which pile do we dig? I don't have the map. So instead of running back, because, man, it was so hard to run. It was deep snow. Elevation was so high. Like, it's hard to breathe at the high elevations. And so running was difficult. We were not going to turn the sled around, run back to get the map. We said, let's just pick one. And then when we get back to the map, we'll correlate it and see if it was right or wrong. So we ended up getting it wrong. We got the first box wrong, which was Germany. But what we did do smart is we went to the pile that had the digging tools. NBC also didn't do a great job of describing what was in the piles. So we had either, you could get the big shovels, medium shovels, or like hand trowels, which are not going to help you dig. But I thought, get the shovels first, because that's going to help you on all the other areas, all the other holes. those piles of snow on the TV look tiny, but in real life, they're like 5 feet tall. It felt like we were digging through. And so you had to clear the pile, and they had built the piles the day before. And so there was like ice to chip through and to remove the pile of snow and then go down underground. So it was like 5-6 feet of snow that you're digging to get to the box. And it was like iced in there, so you had to really yank that chest to get it out. The other rule that they didn't describe is these sleds, right? We're pulling around a sled. Well, the rule is somebody always had to be on the sled. So we picked Allie to be on the sled while Rachel and I pulled it. I felt like I was one of the stronger ones in the team, so I was always pulling, and then I was always digging. It wasn't until the very last pile where I was spent, and I took a turn being on the sled while the two girls dug. And I remember they panned to me just sitting there on the sled. Well, it's not like I was resting. Somebody had to be on the sled, and it was my turn to be on the sled. And it was the only time I was on the sled, and I knew I was about to make fire, so I wanted to catch my breath real quick. And then, like the other teams, I wasn't worried about the red team. It had Kim and Jonah and Ty on it. But I was worried about the yellow team. Shane, Biggie, and Mac. That is a power team. The two strongest players physically, with Mac, in my opinion, the smartest brain-wise. And she can run, she can dig. So like that was a power team, and you can see they had a huge head start. They were building fire before we even got there. They had probably a 2-minute head start on us. And I was watching them build a fire while we were getting our last box. And I'm like, does it even make sense to go over there? Or are they going to get the fire before we even can start? But we knew it was Switzerland based on Roger Federer at the very end. I knew, of course, that was Swiss. The chocolates, I knew that was Swiss, and we had gone for the German sausages. So we had narrowed in that Swiss was right. And our fire starting kit was the best one. Not only did we have matches, we had a lighter, and we had those little white fire starting blocks. Our team had that, and I knew what they were. Other people's had no clue what those little white styrofoam pieces were for. So when I got to the fire making ring, it was easy, right? It was just like, if you ever played a Survivor and you had to build your own fire, you know how hard it is. But if you're given a lighter and matches and a fire starting brick, it's so easy. And I had that tinder in a perfect bowl, using the shavings and the fire starting cube so fast. Like, you saw how fast it was. The other teams were just shocked how fast we could start a fire. I do take it. We have a fire pit at home. We live in Canada. We have bonfires all the time. I can make a fire. So having that shine through was pretty cool. And my other teammates, I think they were happy that I knew how to make a fire. But man, Shane was so pissed. Like, he was swearing so much. I was like, how are they going to even bleep out all the cuss words? Because he was so mad that they'd blown the head start, and we got the fire. Whew. I remember when we won, I just broke down and started singing "O Canada," which I thought was completely, I don't know, I just did it. It just happened. It just came out. It didn't make the edit, which I'm kind of glad, but it's kind of corny, but it was also kind of like a proud moment for, us up north. We know how to make a fire. So that was pretty cool. And then we got to go on a helicopter ride. Helicopter came and the three of us got on it. The other teams were a little jealous because that was an amazing ride. Just had we gotten the ride, that would have been enough. Just to see the countryside. I knew we were in Switzerland based on the clues, but then when they raised the flag at the observatory, it was like, okay, we're in Switzerland, confirmed. And Rachel and Mac said, or maybe Rachel and Allie said, let's not share the clue, and I'm totally on board. At that point, nobody had reached out to me for an alliance. I was playing solo, so if I can agree and convince them not to share. But I knew they were going to share with their friend. They're going to share. But in the moment, of course, you say yes to every opportunity to build rapport. So, yep, I won't share. What was cool is the helicopter then took us back to the bottom of the mountain. We had to put our blindfolds back on, so we couldn't see off the mountain, but we didn't have to take the gondola and the train all the way back. So we got the helicopter ride back, which was like super cool. And then the next day, the next challenge. Right now we're going to this chalet with what a view. Holy cow. This was my place to birdwatch. Absolutely. There was so many raptors flying above, vultures, kites. Like, I knew we were still in the Alps because of these high elevation raptors that were flying around. But I couldn't let on. Like, I haven't told anybody that I'm a bird watcher. That was my secret superpower that I was keeping to myself. Did not tell a soul about that. But I kept looking up without being too obvious about it. But the clues were all around us, right? This table, this picnic table with fondue. Holy moly. Swiss. Fondue is Swiss, right? They had waffles, so like maybe they were trying to throw in some Belgian clues. They had strawberries. They had pancakes. They had a whole bunch of food. So you had to like pick and choose what food was maybe a red herring, what food was legit. And then the cuckoo clock. So I studied that cuckoo clock. Like, I was looking for clues hard. I thought maybe it would come back later in the game. So I wanted to make sure I had memorized what that cuckoo clock looked like. I memorized everything that was on the table. I memorized the order that people went in. And when Shane went in first to put the bells, to decide who was safe and who wasn't to start the game, like, he came back with a BS story about who's safe and who's not safe. Like, nobody bought that story. But I was so happy when we were deciding the order to go in, and as soon as Shane wanted to go first and Ty was like, my favorite number is number 2, I'm like, I want to go last. Strategically, I think it's important to go dead last. And I put that out there, and then everyone accepted it. I was like, fantastic. That way maybe I can learn something from everybody that comes out of the chalet, so I can be more prepared. And having Kim and I go in at the end, it worked out perfectly. So let's talk about the bell challenge. You have to remember the order of 10 bells. And whoever's in there with you, if it's by yourself like Jonah did, or there's 2 people like Kim and I, or sometimes there's 3 people, your team has to remember all 10 bells in order. They didn't just explain the rules very good to TV. So when Kim and I were in there was the 2 of us. She wanted to remember the first 5, me the second 5. That's great. I suggested there's a memory trick that my wife taught me to build a story in your mind of the order. Because there's shapes, you can quickly make a funny story about the cow went up the mountain, rang the bell, saw the star, like, and you just tell yourself the story. It's a great memory trick. Kim wanted nothing to do with it, and she, made me look stupid on TV, whatever, but it worked, and I was proud that I was able to remember my 5. But by going second, had she messed up in the first 5, we wouldn't have been able to save anybody. So let's talk about this conversation with Rachel. Like, right before I went into the chalet, Rachel starts going off on us in the helicopter, on Allie and I, about who's telling the clues to anybody. Like, and she was like, the word I use on screen was, she was unhinged. It was like 10 minutes of digging into me about who I leaked the information to. Like, it was so awkward at that big table. I'm like, look, I wanted an alliance. Nobody around the table wanted to work with me. And now you're upset that I'm trying to use any of my information to get an advantage, to get a teammate? It could have been you. had you wanted to work with me, I wouldn't have had to share the clue with anybody because it would have been you and I. And then when we get back on the bus, I'm like, Rachel, you want to talk? She's like, nope, I'm good. Like, in reality TV, you can't be like that. You have to be open to every conversation. Even if you're going to have a fake alliance with me, at least talk to me. But when you close yourself off, that's when I'm like, all right, Rachel, you're dead to me on this bus. You're not wanting to hear, to listen, to hear me out. So that validated that I put the right person in the map room. Let's talk about Kim's choice to put Jonah in the map room. I wasn't thrilled with that, to be honest. Jonah had no clue where we were, which means keep him around as long as possible. Because if you feed him information and he survives, you can keep feeding him information, and one time when it serves you best, you can feed him the wrong information and he's gonna be off the bus. So keep him around as a shield for yourself, and then discard him when you no longer need him. I know that's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's hurtful to say that, but that's the truth. Put the threats in the map room. Like, had Jonah not been in the map room, the next furthest away was Mac. Mac would have gone home. Mac's the threat, not Jonah. Mac's backpacked all throughout Europe. She told us that. Mac's been to all these places. Mac is strong. Mac is brilliant. Like, that's the threat. And had Kim not put Jonah up there, Mac would have gone home. Like, take your opportunities to put the strong people in the map room. But Kim's rationale was he's not cut out for this game, and he wasn't. Right? He was smart. He was sweet, but is he a cutthroat game player? No. And he admitted that when he told Jeffrey, like, I don't even want to put myself. I don't want to make myself safe. I don't want people to not like me. You're not going to win this game, bud. If that's the attitude, you got to be like, I am a game player. I'm going to win this game no matter what. Like, I didn't know these people 4 or 5 days ago. They're standing in the way between me and winning $250,000. I'm going to do what it takes to win this game. But no, he wasn't cut out like that. He was like, I want to make connections and friends, and that. You saw Kim and I when we were by ourselves in the back of the bus, because you could see that we were the loners, the oldies, the ones that no one wanted to work with. And she looked at me and says, well, I guess we're not here to make friends. And I'm like, obviously not. But Mac almost went home. Yeah! What haven't I talked about? Bathrooms. I get questions about bathrooms on the bus. Yeah, there is one bathroom on the bus. It's right at the bottom of the stairs, kind of going down the stairs from the bus to the road. And we only went number 1 on the bus. Kept it number 1 only. But by day 2, the smell in that bathroom. Oh my gosh. Like, we had to tell them finally, you need to clean this out. Like, it wouldn't drain. Somebody put toilet paper in there, so then it was clogged. And then it was a constant, like, just a ball of wet toilet paper that you're peeing on top of. And just the stench. Ugh. So, if we have to go number 2, you gotta whisper into your microphone, right? The mics, let me explain the mics. The mics are, you have an elastic band under your shirt with a mic that comes up over and is taped inside right here. So you have to whisper to the crew, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. And they would find a safe place to pull over. And then another truck that's following us with a porta-john in the back would pull up, and then we'd have to get our headphones, or earplugs, headphones, masks back on, and then be led down to the truck. We called it the shitty shuttle, and do our business there, and then get back on the bus. Now, when anybody had to go to the number 2, usually everybody would take the opportunity. Sometimes I would take the opportunity, like, I don't have to go, but if there's a chance that I'll hear something, or see something, or notice something, I'm going to take every opportunity to get off that bus. And you haven't moved much in a day or two. So like any chance to stretch your legs, you take it. So that was the bathroom. Bunks. So my bunk was at the end of the hallway, and I had Josh to my right, and I had Biggie to my left. So you see that Josh, once he's gone, now I've got an empty bunk there, which was great because Biggie and I would use that to store our clothes, and so we wouldn't have to shove everything under our bunks. But it was also an opportunity for me and Biggie to whisper back and forth. And you see that now starting in episode 2, where I'm there and I'm telling him that I saw the Swiss flag. This is my opportunity to get an alliance. I've got information. And the first clue in every new country is usually kind of vague, right? Mac and Allie got the ruins of Rome. It's not really until this second clue you really able to pinpoint the location. So I didn't think I was giving up much sharing that I saw a Swiss flag. All you had to do was look around to know that we're in Switzerland. But if I can build some rapport there, and Shane was there when I told him. It's not like I was yelling loud enough for Shane to hear. They were both there, and I wanted both to know that I'm giving this information to them. Hopefully, and in return, we're going to have some friendship or some bonds forming. So, going into episode 3, I've shared some information. I've been safe from the map room twice. Whew, it feels good, because going into that map room ain't fun. But knowing that you're safe and you've made it another round, hallelujah. That's it. Send me more questions. If you're watching this on Patreon, thank you. You're getting this before anybody else. If you're watching it on YouTube, it means I've already published it for at least 24 hours to my Patreon group. If you want these sneak peeks, go join Patreon. Otherwise, thanks for following me on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. And comment below. Ask me some questions. What do you got? All right, I'm here for you. Thanks.